So we're live once again, Steve. How are you, buddy?
Fantastic. Episode 8.
This is it. You're counting, aren't you?
Downtown Chandler, Craft 64.
El Ocho. Yeah, we got this like even thing going, right? The 6, the 4, the 6, the 8. They're working out for us. We're going to have a great podcast today. Our local legend is a good friend of mine. She's a silver medalist in the Olympics. If my statistics are correct, she is the first Arizonan to win a medal in hockey ever.
Well, we'll confirm that, but she is also, if not the best women's hockey player in the world.
She was in her day. She was
Absolutely.
Damn good. She was damn good. Tony Ridarte is going to join us as well today. He's a buddy of mine. We go way back. He is a former police officer who has created something called Compassion Alliance, and you're going to love what this story is about. But we're going to start today with the Boston Dave.
Yes.
I know he's got a different name, but everybody calls you Boston Dave, and I think you're going to understand why they call him Boston Dave real soon. How do you know him?
I know Dave from the business community as Boston Dave from Dorchester.
Welcome to the podcast, man.
Happy to be here. I'm wicked psyched to be with you.
Man, that's it. When your name is Boston Dave, like you really have to lean on the Boston, don't you?
You may as well, right? Yeah.
You have to use words like wicked.
Yes. And pissa.
Pissa. Okay.
Which could be either the best or the worst,
Yes,
depending
wicked.
on what word's in front of it, right?
Wait, so explain that. Hold on.
So like, they could be like, oh man, how was this? How did your date go or something? Right? Oh man, it was pissa. Like, oh, okay, that's great. Or like, hey man, how'd your date go? It was pissa.
Yeah.
So it's all in how you say it.
Yes.
It's the inflection and how you say it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anything like that in New York City?
No, I don't know New York City.
I guess you're from Buffalo.
Buffalo, boy. In the same podcast mentioning Buffalo, New York City,
Oh,
I will
man.
get hate mail. There's no connection there.
Really?
Buffalo is more like South Canada, but my connection is what a lot of people don't know is I grew up half my life in Boston. I don't have the accent because we moved there in high school, and so my younger brother, who you met, went to high school, and so a lot of our really good friends are from the area, and we're right down the street. I lived on Columbus Ave. I graduated from Northeastern, so. So we had a little common.
Like neighbors.
We're neighbors. Neighbors.
Well, when I grew up in Minnesota, and in the world of hockey, there's really only two places. There's Boston and there's Minnesota. At least that's how it used to be. It's not that way as much anymore. Where are you at on the hockey arena? Are you a Bruins dude? You're a Bruins guy.
100%.
They've always had such a good team.
You would get. I mean, you couldn't be called Boston Dave.
I'm still a huge fan, so much so that my friends and family, when our team started winning in Boston, they're like, "You're the jinx. Don't come back here. Never move back." I'm like, "No problem."
Yeah, because
I don't want to be the
Boston
jinx.
Boston had some tough sports years, but not as of late.
No, the last 20 have been
great
good.
sports city.
Yes. Oh yeah.
I mean, name a few that are as good as Boston, right?
Well, there's none as passionate, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would say none quite as good. However, Philly is very passionate.
Different passion.
New York,
But their fans
Chicago.
suck.
But, yeah, they're just,
Just coming right out of it. Okay, I love it.
Listen, I can't take them.
No, but I will say this.
Them.
Let me tell. This is my take on Boston because again, I'm a Boston import. So in Buffalo, I'm a Yankees fan. So we moved. I was proud Yankees. You moved to Boston. You become a quiet Yankees fan, straight out. You are. There's no brave bravery in showing up to Fenway Park and wearing your Yankees gear.
Nobody wants to get thrown a
No,
beat
you don't
with
want
the
to get
game.
doused in beers. But here's what I want to say is Boston lost for all those years, Dave. Yankee, when they finally made it, I'll never forget all the Yankees fans. Oh, yeah, we were rooting we want the Red Sox to win. The Red Sox would never, under any circumstances, root for the Yankees or want the Yankees to win. The Yankees could not win for a millennium, 1,000 years, and they would not want them to win. It's just that's what the passion in Boston. It's like they love Boston and hate everybody else, and that's just it.
That's how it flies, man.
Yeah.
So you're known as like this community happy hour guru guy. How does this come to be?
So obviously not being from here, right? I moved out here for a job that didn't work out, and I got into.
Did you leave or they fire you?
Oh, it was
I'm just
crazy.
kidding. Go ahead with your
We don't
story.
even have enough time to go over what happened with that. That was nuts.
But I had a couple of those too, man.
Yeah. Oh man, when I write a book, holy shit, it's gonna be crazy. But so I moved out here and I got into a different industry, right? Completely different life insurance. I didn't know anything about it 12 years ago when I got into it, and I knew I didn't know people here. I was new here, and I had a family to feed. So I joined every organization there was, Chambers of Commerce and LaTip and BNI and Networking Phoenix, everywhere I could go to meet people, because people are the engine that drives business. And I was like, man, I can do this. I like all their stuff, and it's cool how they do it. But I used to throw some pretty good parties in high school and stuff. Ma, hopefully you're not watching. But
she will be.
That was a great way, and I host my happy hour like that. We're all over 21, so it's cool now. But I hosted at somebody else's place, right?
Yeah.
Like this month is going to be Craft 64. Next month is going to be elsewhere. So always a local place. My grandfather told me when I joined the Air Force, he's like, David, don't move back here. Your future's not here. He was
How interesting to know that,
right? Yeah. And I looked up to him so much, and I was like, what? He's like, David, your future's not here. I don't know where it is, but whenever you get there, plant your flag and you become an asset to your community. And those words were ringing in my ears when I moved here. And I started the happy hour, and it started with 12 people. So I was like, oh, all right,
Not
12
too
people is
bad.
cool.
Over 10's a party.
Man, I was stoked that just anyone showed up.
Yeah.
There was like 3 of my buddies and 8 people I didn't know. I was like, wow, yeah, this is great.
That's a happy hour.
And now it's over 100 consistently.
Wow.
When you get to like that size, right, of a monthly event at a local place, not all of them can hold 150 or 200 people.
That's right. Yeah, this Craft 64 is big enough. They can.
Oh,
But
yeah.
You're right. Not
Hey,
everybody could.
Here's an idea. We may have to host one of our podcasts at one of the live events.
Oh, that'd be so fun,
wicked
dude.
happy
Bring
hour.
us out to the next happy hour.
Yes.
Put it on the books. Call
Okay.
Susan, put that down.
Yeah, we'll work on that.
Let's
Susan,
do it.
call Dave's people if you're listening.
What is the best happy hour snack, Steve?
Wings.
Wings?
100%. 100% wings. Not even close. Chicken
Really?
wing. Buffalo wings.
I'm a big Slider fan too, but I do like the wings best.
Wings.
Because if you're gonna make a mess, you might as
You're
well
going
really
wings.
get after it.
Yeah,
That's true.
Where does the quesadilla fall in? No, down
me.
the road.
Down the
Okay.
road, yeah.
Pizza.
Pizza's not bad. Pizza's not bad.
Okay.
But the wings and the hot sauce and the salt, it adds more the drinking and the happy hour atmosphere.
What happens at your networking events? Who are they for? Who's the best person to walk through that door?
Literally anybody. So what I do is I don't
Even
do.
Steve?
Even Steve can come hang out.
He invited me before, too.
I did. I've invited him.
I haven't been, but he invited me.
It's all right. I'll still invite you.
Thank you.
So it's an open environment. I don't charge anybody to show up. I don't charge the venue to have our group of 100 and something there. It's literally just to build community and to support the local businesses, especially after 4 years ago.
Yeah,
right?
right.
It's more important than ever, and everybody's welcome. I have had from somebody brand new at their job to mayors and ball players and C-level execs, and you name it, everybody has been there. And what I hear back most consistently from everybody is,
They had a
wow,
wicked good time.
they had a wicked awesome time. Yeah.
Is it a form? Were there any formalities? Is it just loose?
No
Tell
formalities.
those. Yeah.
Well,
How's it set up?
I greet everybody when they get in, and the people that have come to quite a few know as well, right? So I just greet the people when they come in, depending on how they look. Sometimes they're like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, there's so many people.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're just like, oh, cool, whatever. So, but if they look freaked out, I calm them down and I introduce them to whoever is the best person for them to meet
Oh,
at
connector.
that time. And I'll ask them, I'll be like, hey,
Connector.
if you had the courage to get out here, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I know it's a lot, deep breaths. All right, you're good now. If you can meet anybody, personally or professionally, what would that person look like and what would they do? And when they say whomever it is,
Like,
they're
all right, I
already in
gotta
the
go.
room.
Yeah.
I'm like, I got to go. Hold on, come on, let's go. And then I connect them.
I want to know what like proper etiquette is in 2024 for networking, right? Because we've moved away from this idea of bring 50 business cards with you, pass them out to everybody, try to say hi to everybody, because all anybody does at a lot of these networking events that I go to, they're just selling themselves the whole night long. Here's what I do. Here's what I could do for you. And it's like, all right, thank you.
And that's the older style.
Yeah,
right?
it is. So what is
Like with a
what
lot
is
of
etiquette
things.
in 2024 for networking?
So I'm not the best person to speak on etiquette on anything, but for networking, exactly what you don't want is somebody just jamming their card in your face, right? My group, we're abundance mindset. We know we're going to see these people again. So it's literally just building a relationship. My goal, even at my own event, is to just meet 4 new people, and that's it. Now, it's my event, so I meet everybody, at least to greet them. But I want to connect with 4 people, 4 new people. That's all I want to do. If it's a smaller event, if it's not 150 people, and it's 20 people, maybe I only want to meet 2 people. But I want to actually connect with that person, because it's not just knowing you, right? But when we're comfortable and we're friends, it's who you know.
That's
and
it.
who your friends know. And I would rather know you and then get to know your circle through you rather than hucking 50 cards at people.
And he mentioned something. I want you to elaborate a little bit of this, because this is one of the questions I brought in. The abundance mindset. You said that. Yeah. Tell me, what are some key elements of fostering the abundance mindset, and how does it work with the business in the initiatives that you're doing with the Wicked Happy Hour? How are you connecting?
Good question. So the abundance, there's really 2 base mindsets that I found that people can have, either scarcity or abundance. It doesn't matter how anyone grew up, whether they grew up in scarcity like I did or grew up in abundance. It doesn't matter. What it is I kind of went on a journey, like as we all do, right? I grew up Catholic in the Boston area. We all know what's happened there with that. So I went on kind of a faith journey. And what I found as I looked at different religions and stuff, every single one of them, love was the base, right? Every single one. Mm-hmm. And I was like, man, so God's everywhere, therefore abundance, and love is the underpinnings of every major religion and even spiritualism and stuff. I was like, then that's the truth.
Right.
Then the truth is abundance. So being in scarcity isn't anything that I want to be associated with. And when I did the happy hour, I had a friend that asked, because somebody showed up from Edward Jones, a friend of mine, and we're in the same industry, right? He's like, man, what's he doing here? I was like, that's my boy. He's like, yeah, but they do. I said, they do different stuff than us. I was like, oh, by the way, he's in insurance and he does the exact same thing I do.
Right.
I said, there's more than enough money for all of us
Amen.
to achieve whatever level of success we deem it is.
Yeah.
Without taking anything from anybody. Mm-hmm. So everybody is welcome at my happy hour, because I don't care who helps them. I care that they get whatever help that they need. It doesn't matter who it comes from. It just matters that they get it.
And this conversation started with a great question for you, Mathew, is how it's changed, and it has. It's what he just pointed out is it's the individual connection. So there may be 20, only 20, 30 people in the room. There may be 3 financial planners, and many may like the service, but everybody's not going to connect with the same person. It's the way it is. Certain people, and that's how it's different. Like you said, the relationship.
We've all learned as we've gotten a little older and a little wiser that it is about the relationships, because how many of us have gone into somebody, done the quick sell, started working with them, and been like, oh my God, how do I fire this client? Yeah. How do I get rid of this person yesterday? Right? And so this is the benefit of sitting down, getting to know 2, getting to know 4 people really well. And then do I want to even engage with them? Yeah. Do I want to spend my time with this person? Because you're going to be if you're going to work together.
Oh, yeah.
You're a team. You're actually, you're really working. Once you consummate that working business relationship, it's a partnership, and you're working, honestly working together. So,
all right. Do you have any networking events that are coming up around the holidays? Because this podcast is going to come out sometime in November. So any events coming up in November,
always
December?
the 3rd Wednesday of the month. So the November one will be at the Forum, which is Chandler, kind of on Gilbert Road over there. And we'll probably have a couple of hundred people there or close because they have a bigger capacity, amazing spot. And then December, it will be at the new Perch in Gilbert. So, and it's always third Wednesday of the month, always 6 to 9 p.m.
And listen, we're going to get our people together, and we're going to collaborate on this. I think that may be a fantastic move the needle event, and something
to
that
be surrounded by all the peeps.
Yes,
yeah,
they'll enjoy that, and a lot of those people in that room are moving the needle. We'll have a laundry list of people,
man, bringing it all home.
Yeah, bring your sheets, man. You just sign up guests left and right.
We got a meeting. We got a meeting next week already.
We're going to link to Boston Dave in our show notes. What's the website?
www.wickedawesameconnections.com.
How fun is that?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for being on the show. Dave. We're going to take just a really quick break. And when we come back, you're going to learn all about Compassion Alliance from a guy named Tony Ridarte. We'll see you in just a minute. Well, we're back. It's our Move the Needle podcast live from Craft 64 today. We've got myself, Steve Petz, and a new guest joining us, Tony Ridarte. Welcome to the show, man.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate the opportunity.
I am so jacked that you're on, and I know you were like I texted you last week, and I thought, man, I have this opportunity for Tony. I hope he says yes. And he had a plumbing issue this morning, Steve, in Prescott or Payson?
Up in Overguard.
Oh. And he was dealing with that all morning. He texted me this morning. He's like, I'm not sure I'm going to make it. No. But the plumber came through.
But I made it.
You made it.
And the cool thing was when you reached out last minute with my wacky schedule, the chances of making this work are slim to none. And I had that window open. So plumbing issue or not, we're here.
This was meant to be. This guy started something, Steve, called the Compassion Alliance, and I want you to know about this.
Yes,
I want everybody to know about the Compassion Alliance, and I think there's no better place to start than with you, Tony. I mean, we have to share your story because you're the reason that this is the thing.
Yeah, absolutely. The Compassion Alliance came out of my story. It came to fruition through the hardships that I had in law enforcement.
Okay.
And when I was at that darkest hour in my professional life, and quite honestly, my personal life too, because they do bleed over, there was nobody reaching out. There was nobody that I felt cared. And so we crafted this nonprofit specifically out of that story. But I do want to point out, when I talk about this professionally, the hardships I had, personally, my wife was an absolute lifesaver, and I will never talk about this topic without just pausing and commenting about her. I came out of the world of law enforcement battered, bruised, swollen mouth, and kicked in teeth, and my marriage was on life support. And I really, truly thought, this is probably it. And my wife said, absolutely not. This is not it. And so we saved that marriage, and then we created this nonprofit, the Compassion Alliance, and it's been nonstop since then. It's been buckle up, hold on to your pants, because it's busy.
In a couple of sentences, explain what you guys do, what the work is about.
So what we do is we're a safe place for first responders to reach out to for help. And so we cover the cost of trauma therapy for any first responder anywhere in the country. Now, we're based right here in Arizona, and we do a large volume in Arizona, but we help men and women all over the country. And it's creating that safe place where they don't have to go to their supervisor, they don't have to go to their agency. They go directly to us, and we say, look, thank you for reaching out. We care about you. You matter to us. Connect with this therapist in your community. What they don't know in the background, we've already vetted them. We've already negotiated our pricing. We've done all that. And then we just connect them and let them start their healing journey on their own.
Yeah, because it's still, I have to believe the attitude within law enforcement is similar to that of the military, where it's just like, hey, we're not talking about that. I can't talk about it because as soon as I say something, they're going to take me off duty, or they're going to take me off this case, or they're going to take me out of the equation. Is that as real as I think it is still? Or is that part getting better?
It's getting better.
It's getting better.
It's getting better. So I'm a dinosaur. I went through the police academy in 1997. When I went through the police academy, we weren't talking about this. They taught me everything to win a gunfight and win a fist fight, but they never taught me a single thing to keep me alive between the ears. And that's where I got derailed. It's different now. And I see it. We're literally helping guys with 3-4 years on the job. They're acknowledging that they need help, and we're leaning into that now. It's not... We still have an issue. We still have a long ways to go.
Sure.
But we're chipping away at it. And that's really important through the Compassion Alliance, that we're part of that process of breaking that stigma.
Yeah. That's really what what comes to me is to really piggyback what you said, Mathew. For me, what's surprising is the hurdle of it's amazing the success. Those people are really, again, the first responders, they're bravado. I mean, they're taught to be strong. And so, again, traditionally, especially men, and I want you to elaborate this, men, any sort of even bringing up any problems like this used to be a sign of weakness. How has that changed?
Yeah, well, I will tell you, first of all, I appreciate you sharing that. And I will boldly state it's not a sign of weakness. We're made to believe that. We were, and that paradigmal shift is changing. I'm seeing it, but we have to. We just have to be able to create a safe place where we can ask for help, and that's what we're actively trying to do every single day. These marriages matter. These first responder marriages matter, and their lives matter. If you look at our suicide rates, specifically in law enforcement, but in first responders in general, they're higher. Our divorce rates, higher than the average public. So we have to do something, and we have to get out of that mentality. That mentality is what we were swimming in for decades. And I do feel it shifting. I do feel it changing. I see it in the conversations, but it's not changing fast enough. I want it changing a lot quicker.
How do you get this in front of more police forces? How do you make Compassion Alliance known within these communities so these men and women know they even have an outlet?
Yeah, very grassroots for us.
Yeah,
very word of mouth. I don't have an unlimited budget. I can't do all the marketing that I want to do.
Lyndsey Fry is going to be on next. You could ask her to cut a check.
Right on. Yeah. We're very intentional about the relationships that we have and the conversations that we're having, and we're making headway. But we have to.
Yeah, you just got to keep plugging away because they have to know there's something else. Now, okay, you were in the force. So what happens, like somebody's in the force, they're like, hey, I think I need some help, and they use their insurance, and they go and they sit down with a psychologist. Is there any kind of like kickback there?
First of all, I like when you say the force. It's very supernatural.
Okay.
Very cool.
What do you call them?
You're all good.
Yeah.
So part of my story is I didn't want any repercussions. I didn't want any paper trails. And so when I got help, I wasn't using insurance.
Yeah. Oh, you weren't.
I did not use insurance. I used we paid cash, and that was really important to me. The reality is I could have used insurance, but I just come from that old school mentality where I'm not showing any signs of weakness. I'm not showing any cracks in my armor. And so I elected to not even get help until I retired. That's what we're trying to change. Yeah, I don't even know if you know that story, but I literally walked away. I spent my last 11 years in our homicide unit and walked away just beat up and retired at the stroke of midnight on my 20th year and literally started my healing journey that same week. And that's what we're trying to change. I didn't use insurance. I tell people now, I encourage you, if you have insurance, use it. Use it. Your agency cares about you. Go to your agency and ask for help. If you don't want to do that, reach out to us. I don't really care who you reach out to. This isn't about the Compassion Alliance from that aspect. I just want you to get help. So if you got great insurance, use it. If you know a counselor that you value and trust, lean into them for a referral. If you want to use a Craig Tiger Act in the state of Arizona, use that. If you want to use us, use us. I don't care who you use. We just want you to use somebody.
How does it work? How does it protocol work? If I'm listening to this now and I want to pass it along to a first responder friend of mine, and I'm like, hey, check this out.
Yeah, well, part of that process is honestly listening to podcasts like this, where we're really starting to get that conversation out there. So I get a lot of phone calls, and I get a lot of phone calls from a lot of spouses that want their husbands, usually the husband, to get help, but it doesn't work like that. The husband has to be ready for help. And I have this conversation with the spouses all day long. And we help those spouses, by the way. I'm not going to just shut a door and say we can't help him until he's ready, so we leave you hanging. We're going to help her. But once the first responder is ready, whether it's a retiree, a first responder, or a spouse, we push them to our website because that's the first process, asking for help. You got to go through that. There's a certain protocol that we do. Once you do that, you'll be in contact with somebody from our board. I want same-day touches. So when a first responder reaches out for help, I want somebody making contact that day. By the time they press submit, they're ready for help. They don't want to be put on the back burner. I was going to just
say, like, nobody's doing this in advance.
Nope. They're ready to go right now. Yeah. And so we're ready to meet them right now. What we do is we offer them 5 sessions of trauma therapy, basically 5 hours worth, that we'll cover the cost for with the ability to go up to 10. The vast majority of the first responders that we're helping, the vast majority are in the 5-session range. We have plenty that go up into the 10-session range. We have very, very few that go past that. Occasionally we do. We're not going to turn our back on them. For those ones, we'll still lean into that. But 5 to 10 is that sweet spot. These are people that aren't broken. These are people that are not fixable. They're 100% fixable. That was my story. I thought I was broken beyond repair. I learned very quickly in my healing journey, I'm not nearly as broken as I thought I was. Yeah. And so that sweet spot is 5 to 10. 90% of the hundreds of people we've helped fall right into that category.
Yeah, because you have to imagine, Steve, as a first responder, you're exposed to all kinds of crazy stuff.
I just couldn't imagine the stress levels and the anxiety.
Right.
And let's call it the nightmares.
That's right.
So there's in their stats. These are topics that we could spend forever talking about stats, but and they vary. They're all over the place. But there's one that's floating around about traumatic events that you might see. And a traumatic event, quite frankly, it's just what you think it is. It's bad. And they say on average, a 20-year law enforcement career, you're seeing hundreds of traumatic events.
Hundreds. Wow.
Whereas the general public, you might see less than a dozen. Or far less than 10.
Maybe
and this is a 20-year span. Yeah. Or maybe not see any. The chances are you'll see something. I saw one just driving up here today. This is one thing from my relationship. I don't share stories. I'm not going to put that trauma in your head. This is a story that's not going to put trauma in your head. But as I'm driving up here, I was first on scene of a motorcycle that just got clipped. The guy's still laying down. But those are traumatic events that the general public will see. But law enforcement, fire departments, EMS, you're seeing those multiple times daily.
Right. I always wonder what happened to the guy that had to come to my rescue when I opened up my leg with a chainsaw.
Ooh, true story?
You're lucky you have your leg if it involved a chainsaw.
I know, isn't that crazy? But they do. That's my point. They see so much wild
shit.
That's
a traumatic.
Isn't this impressive? This is why I wanted to have Tony on.
Very, very impressive. And again, it's against the grain, and it's amazing the success you've had. Where are you taking this? Where's the next 10 years, Tony?
Oh, man. As soon as you get Lyndsey Fry's check, where are you going with
as soon as she writes that check, we'll have that
conversation. It sounds like you're just cranking up. It sounds like things are...
we weren't really sure what was going to happen with this. We started this with the intentionality. If we helped one first responder, we're going to call it a success. And that was 6 years ago. We're still going. The requests are still coming in. I was sharing just before this podcast with Mathew that the problem is so real. We knew it was a problem. We just didn't know to what degree. But the amount of requests we still get weekly, and I will say this, we do a ton of marriage counseling too. That's something that's really near and dear to our heart. We're leaning into that. But your question is, where does this go? I don't know where this goes. I just know that we can't walk away. That's what I know.
Yeah, and the best way to do what you do is you need dollars because you're compensating all these therapists. Nobody's doing this work for free or pro bono, right?
Nope. No, we have to have funding. If we don't have funding, we can't continue to offer the services that we offer. So we have to find them. We have to find the business leaders that care about first responders. We got to find, we're funded entirely through business leaders, through private donations, trusts. We don't have any grant funding right now. They're out there, but you got to have the right people that can get to those. We just need the people that care about first responders. I believe that the silent majority still value law enforcement.
Oh, of course.
I believe it's the vocal minority that's the peanut gallery chipping.
There's on
100%
every single issue. It's the peanut gallery,
on
man.
that.
Yeah, it's so good. Yeah. So good.
So you need to go grab Lyndsey right now. We got a conversation.
We're going to work that out right now. What's the website? Are you .org?
Yeah. Okay. Compassion-alliance.org.
Okay. Tony Ridarte, thank you so much for coming on and telling people about this great thing you're doing.
Thank you for the opportunity. Yeah. I appreciate speaking with you both.
So we're back for our local legends segment here on the Move the Needle podcast. Yeah, you weren't aware of that, and I didn't tell her that up front because some people, if you tell them they're going to be on the local legends segment, they're like, come on, dude.
But she is a local legend.
She is a local legend. Like, what are you going to do?
Yeah, sorry.
You've spent your whole life building this legacy. Let's cash it in.
Oh, wow. All right. All right. I'm here for it. I don't have any real checks to give to your previous guy, Tony, but...
I was thinking you could come on and just write him a $5 check and we could have a big laugh.
Oh, well, see, I'm of the younger generation. I don't carry my checkbook around, but...
They don't even know what checks are.
I could Venmo him.
You could Venmo. You're right. You're right.
Venmo.
You should have crashed the last segment and been like, "What's a checkbook?"
Yeah.
Dinosaur.
Yeah, you write checks.
You calm down, boomer.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
Oh man, Lyndsey Fry, one of my favorite people on planet Earth. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm awesome. Thank you so much for being a part of this. She's here to talk about something that's incredibly special to her. I think you're going to find some common threads between it because you are a hockey guy, Steve.
Sure.
You coached here locally for many years.
Coached on the board again. Had the privilege of watching Lyndsey at a younger age skate, and what I will say right on camera, what I remember about you, Lyndsey, was, of course, I was coaching at the time. The coaches were talking. I remember your slap shot at a young age, and I was like, "That's a heavy shot for somebody that age, and especially." Female hockey player at that time.
Right.
I mean, it was different. So for me as a player, to me the shot, the heaviness of the shot that's where it kind of separates a lot of the people. I was like, okay. Wow. So I got a peek at her.
How about that? High praise as a youngster.
I'll take it.
Well, it's true. And then from there, I mean, come on, that was just a minute. From there, she was like a rocket ship. I'd have to pay money to watch her after that.
The best part of my game was when my shift ended and I was getting on the bench.
Oh, okay.
That's what my coaches would have probably articulated.
Well, at least you're on the bench.
Were you elite at that skill?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
I was a really good cheerleader. If I could
And
pump
you
you up
still
on the
are.
bench.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
You're
And
the
I
best
married a
cheerleader.
cheerleader on top of it. So, I mean, there's
That's the win.
There's a lot of
That's the
cheering
big
going
win.
on in the crew. I want to know, I don't know if I've ever asked you this question before. What age did you start to recognize that you were different? You had a little bit more in the tank than other people did, and that you should scratch that itch a little bit? Because maybe people don't know. Like, she goes on to play at Harvard and then for the USA team.
Mm-hmm.
So when does all that start to fall into place?
It's a good question. I think I always felt different in a sense because I was the only girl playing with boys here in Arizona for most of my childhood. And it really wasn't until I got a little bit older and my parents, who, when I first started playing, knew absolutely nothing about hockey.
Doug didn't know anything about hockey?
Nothing. Now, he
master
quickly
now.
got himself involved,
Yeah.
which ended up, I think, in the long run being a good thing. But, they didn't know anything about it. But they just decided when I was born and my brother was born that they were going to dive headfirst into whatever we were doing, and they did. So it really wasn't until I got into like late middle school that they started to seriously consider, okay, well, what are we going to do with her next? What is this whole college hockey thing? What's it going to take to even get her there? There aren't a lot of girls options here in Arizona. So I think through that, they did a lot of work to educate themselves on what was going to be the path for me. And, you know, the pathway to college was not going to be playing on a boys team in Chandler, Arizona. I needed to get some exposure, play on a girls team, play against, you know, the competition that ultimately I would be fighting against for college spots. So, that's when we found a team in Colorado for me to play for, which was a big commitment for me, my parents. I was literally traveling back and forth. I was practicing with my little brother's team when I was at home. It was a lot of travel. But I think during that time is really when it started to click. I got invited to go to, in the USA hockey system, you go through like your state camp, and then you can get invited to district camp and then national camp. I got to go to national camp all 4 years. That's really where I got to see myself against my peers at my age group from all around the country, and started to realize like, oh, okay. Like my freshman year, I think I went, it was either my freshman year between 8th and freshman year, and went to this camp, and the top two scorers at the camp were me and Kendall Coyne, who is now like the leader of the national team program. So
as one of the youngest players, you stepped up right away. Is that what you're saying?
No, those camps we were all the same age. We all were 92 birth years. But still, I mean, the other 92s that I had never really interacted with ever in my life, I was out there.
So you
competing.
you guys got all together and you rose to the top of that crowd.
Yeah, and it's a big camp. I mean, it's like 100 plus kids. And then from there, when I was a junior in high school, I got invited to come and try out for the under 18 national team. Made that my junior and my senior year. That's actually what led me to getting kicked out of my public high school. So I was missing too many days of school. So, the truancy.
That's when you went to the online system.
That's when I switched to online school. Was able to go to Colorado a lot more to play with that team. And then I think from there, I mean, there was a lot of ups and downs along the way. I think when I got to Harvard, it humbled me quite a bit. I went from thinking I was just this stud. I played on 2 U18 teams. I thought I was going to roll into college, be a first-line player, and like the pathway would be easy. And I get to college, and all of a sudden, these girls are older than me, bigger than me, stronger than me, faster than me. And it was like, wow, maybe I'm not as good as I thought I was, and that was a real wake-up call.
So we talked about that last segment. So I went to Northeastern, so I know hockey, East hockey. I went to the Beanpot every year. Yeah. So, and I will say I went to several of the female hockey games, and it is. I mean, you wouldn't believe it. If you get up on the glass, it is. It's way more intense than you'd expect. Way rougher than you'd expect. Way rougher. I was like, whoa, and just. It's just like I understand what you're talking about, Lyndsey. Yeah. It's just that's a big step.
I wonder if does this irritate you about the women's game? Like, I always feel like, why can't you guys hit the way they can hit in the men's league?
Have you watched a PWHL
game? There's plenty of physicality.
They fight.
They hit now, but
it's not the men's game. And I always thought, like, that's the stupidest rule. Like, why can't they play physical with each other?
So there's been a lot of discussion around that, like, because the PW has been so physical. I mean, we're talking like full-blown open ice hits that league.
Yeah.
However, if you look at the NHL, they are trying to get not away from hitting, but away from a lot of the old school open ice hits to the head,
stuff,
checks from behind. Like, they're getting away from all that.
The stuff we're seeing right now on the TV, right? Yeah.
Okay, but they're trying to get away from all of that, and so I think what we're seeing right now is there's an equilibrium that's coming. Mm-hmm. They're trying to remove unnecessary injury more and more from the men's game, and they are seeing that the women are getting stronger and stronger and more physical, and I think it's balancing out.
Yeah, because it legitimately is a skill, right? If you're a physical player and you're not afraid of scrums and you're not afraid of contact, like that, to me, that's a skill like somebody who can Michigan or dangle.
That's a role, absolute role.
I mean, you take somebody like me who played hockey and I had size, and so you take the physicality away and it was like I sucked. Yeah. Like if I can't play physical with you, then you take away all my assets. So you just mentioned it. PWHL is so exciting.
Yeah.
It's now finally girls have another place where they can go, because before it was like college, maybe USA, and then you're tapped out, or you play overseas, I guess.
Well, yeah, there were some overseas options. There were some leagues between the US and Canada, multiple different variations, but at the time that I was going through college, it was like a pay-to-play league. You had Hillary Knight fundraising to pay for her bus ride. Like, is crazy. Man. And then when I graduated college right after the Frozen Four, we got a bunch of people got invitations to play in what was the NWHL, and that they were getting paid, but not very much. I mean, the average was they were getting like $15,000 a year. They still all had to have a job on the side. So it's pretty incredible how much it's evolved. And still, unless you're one of those top players, you're not making bank by any means, but if you look at the direction and the trajectory of where this is going and how they're selling out NHL buildings and a lot of
in Canada, they've the biggest crowds ever.
It's crazy. So it's got a lot of momentum.
Okay, I've got a fun question that has nothing to do with money. Money aside, I brought this question. I'm going to ask it now. your dream team, because you're mentioning some names and some leagues you played in. You're putting together your dream team. Could be anything.
Who's their line?
What's your starting five goaltender?
Oh, I
Who's
like
your five?
this.
I want.
And are they your line mates?
Yeah.
Are you
on the line?
Not if I had to play today. I just played with I had to play with my 16s. We're missing a defenseman. I don't play defense.
This is dream team. This
is when I was in my prime.
This is yes. And who's with you?
This is good.
I want to hear. Give
man,
a shout
that's
out
tough. I think I would probably put Abby Murphy's an absolute stud.
Where is she?
She's at Minnesota right now.
And
she
what
plays
position?
on the national team.
What position?
Let's put her. I don't actually know. Let's throw her in the middle.
Okay, she's our center.
I'll be a power forward on the right just to feel included. We'll put Taylor Heisey somewhere on there. She's a young gun.
Okay.
Okay.
In the
Who's
back.
D'ing up?
I was super impressed when I watched Erin Frankel recently. She'd be in goal.
Okay.
So we'll put Erin Frankel back there.
Okay.
Defense. That's tough.
Think who was just so
Probably Shelley Picard.
tough to play. Who's
Shelley Picard. I don't think I won a single one-on-one against
That's
ever.
who. That's the
That's
D.
who you want.
That's the D.
And then I need like a bruiser.
Who was
Yeah.
who was just you just did not
Oh, it
like
was
to
the
play
Lamoureux
against.
twins.
Ooh.
Well, and I'm picking all Americans. I mean, I could throw
That's
some
okay.
Canadians in there, but I don't really want
Let's
to.
go.
Let's
Let's
not.
stay. Let's keep them.
Let's go Megan Keller.
Oh, okay.
Now this team, okay, it's memorialized now, Lyndsey. There's
Taylor,
your team.
Abby, Fry,
They're going to be like,
Shelley,
what is Fry
Morgan,
doing on that
and
line?
Aaron.
We're gonna make sure to tag all them, call them, get their
Ooh.
social media. This is the dream team. I mean,
According to
this
Lyndsey
is
Fry.
coming from Lyndsey Fry because
I
that
know.
team, I would put my money on that team.
Would you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Who knows more than her?
If you got some money, the Compassion Alliance could use some cash. They could use
People
some
that
checks.
I know. Maybe there might be, but I don't know anybody.
Yeah,
So I'm
yeah.
taking I'm putting my
All right,
pennies on you.
we'll take it. I mean, I feel like we could do some damage with that group.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
really quick, we got to talk about the Olympics briefly because then I want to pivot the conversation a little bit. What is it like to find out, number one, you're going to be on the team, number two, to be in really meaningful hockey, and then to play in that game, come up a little bit short, but still walk out with one of 3 medals, which is really impressive.
Yeah. So the way that we found out was honestly that the whole experience of me finding out and then telling my family is still to this day my favorite memory from the Olympics, and we weren't even in Sochi. So we had just finished a game at University of North Dakota. It was a scrimmage against Canada. It was the last game we were going to play before going home for Christmas break. But we did have one more game between Christmas and New Year's, and New Year's Day was when like the final roster had to be announced. So after that game at UND, we get back to the hotel room. We're going into the meal room, or back to the hotel. We go to the meal room, and we're looking around, and we realize a couple of our teammates aren't there. And we're like, oh my gosh, like, is this it? And our coaches walked in, and they read a list of 21 names, and mine was one of them. And they said, congratulations, this is the 2014 Olympic team.
Holy crap, I just got chills.
I know, it's
And
amazing.
So I immediately, first thing I did, I went to my room. I think I had like my moment in the mirror freaking out. And then I called my brother Wes, who was 18 at the time. And I was like, Wes, I made the team. Don't tell mom and dad. And he's like, what? I'm like, don't tell mom and dad. Because in my family, every Christmas Eve since before I was born, we do some sort of, you have to perform at my grandparents' house. So it can be a song, dance, skit, poem, whatever you want. So I was like, no, let's tell him on Christmas Eve. So I get home, and my poor mom is freaking out. She's like, what do you think's going on?
She knows this is all happening.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they knew
They're
that
gonna
final
announce the
cuts were
team,
coming
yeah.
soon. So
So
she's
you're
like,
lying. You're like, I just haven't heard yet.
lying through my teeth. I'm like, I think they want to watch that last game. I think they're trying to
Best
figure it
lie she
out.
ever told.
I tell the kids I coach this story, and I'm like, it's not good to lie to your parents unless it's for a really, really good surprise. And I tell them to write that down. So we get to Christmas Eve, and we get up on stage, and my brother's got this like sack over his shoulder pretending he's Santa. And I was like, oh, Santa, do you have something for me? And he's like, yeah, So I pull it out. It's this poster, and I look at it, and then I look at the other side, and I go, this says 2 Team Fry. That's all of them. And I said, can I give it to them? He goes, yeah. And I play the like, dun, 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 and I turn it around, and it said, we did it with the Olympic rings. And it was like incredible. My mom was sitting over here, and she's like, how do you know that? And then my little like,
I'm like
oh
I gotta get
yeah,
glasses off.
in the back of the room is my like 4 foot nothing grandma.
Things I could ever.
Can you imagine your kid coming with that news?
No, that's like a dream.
It was awesome. My grandma's in the back. She's like, wow, just
everybody
going nuts.
crazy.
What does Doug Fry do?
Speechless.
Yeah.
He was the one behind the camera, and
Which
you
is
eventually
not
hear,
easy.
you eventually hear him say, "How do you know? How do you know?"
Is it official? You got the paper?
No, it was awesome. My cousin's
I love
crying.
how happy this has made Steve. He's like
I'm a hockey
legitimately.
guy.
Like,
I got into that.
Yeah.
I was glued.
I know, it's a great story.
So that
It's a great story. It is a
truly,
great
of
story.
everything that ever happened during the Olympic run, like that was my number one favorite memory of the whole thing. Because I was like, I'm a little girl from Chandler, Arizona. Like I was not supposed to make an Olympic ice hockey team, but because of the commitment and the sacrifice that they made to make it all happen, that's why I was there.
First hockey player to medal in hockey in Arizona.
First hockey player from Arizona to play ice hockey at the Olympics.
In general.
And then
Isn't that
first
incredible?
Winter Olympian from Arizona to medal.
So awesome.
Yeah.
So awesome.
Yeah.
I want to just pivot a little bit, and I want to talk about this really cool guy named Matt Shott. He was a buddy of mine. He was a real good friend of yours.
Yep.
And, sadly, Matt's not here anymore, but the legacy of Matt lives on through his foundation. And now you guys are doing something so cool to honor him called Shott's Tots. I love it. I mean, talk to me about Matt and talk to me about what you're doing here.
Yeah, so Matty was affectionately known as my work husband, and we fought like it too. But he and I worked at the Coyotes together for a long time in the hockey development department, building. He was there long before I was, and we actually knew each other as kids growing up in Chandler. But he just wanted to give as many kids, as many people as possible the opportunity to experience our great game, whether that was ball hockey, street hockey, ice hockey, and it could be adults, kids, boys, girls. Like, he wanted everyone to experience it. And so unfortunately, when he passed away, there was a huge gap to fill, and a lot of people that cared about him so deeply have stepped up in incredible ways. But there are a lot of amazing people who have done great work in the state in hockey. There's one person whose name hangs in the rafters at every single ice rink in the state of Arizona, and that's Matt, because of what he did and what he was able to build and accomplish. And so it was for every hockey person in the state. I mean, it's heartbreaking that the Coyotes have left. That's been such a huge driver of the growth of hockey in Arizona. I'm a beneficiary of it. Like, if they didn't come here, I don't think the rink in Chandler would have been built. If the rink in Chandler wasn't built, I don't know if I'd be playing. And I look at everything good in my life, it has come through this game. So for me, when the Coyotes left, and I got to be honest, I thought we had more time. I thought there was another year on the mullet deal. I thought
that went quick.
Yeah, I thought
we'll
be fine for another year. But I had started thinking about this concept of, if the team leaves, how are we going to keep hockey growing? How are we going to keep it alive? And, had those conversations with Shane Doan and some of the alumni, and just was floating this idea of, what if we built the Matt Shott Foundation to continue to keep all of the programming that he built alive and well, so that hockey continued to grow in this state.
That'd be like the Little Howlers and some of these other
Howlers,
programs.
our adult learn to
Small
play,
Fries.
our special hockey, our veteran hockey, Small Fries, girls hockey, like it is so, our school program, we have hockey sticks in almost every single school, public school, elementary in Maricopa County. I mean, it is massive, and people don't realize how much went into that. And so all of a sudden, like that, it was, all right, well, Coyotes are leaving.
Yeah.
So what I thought we had a year to build, we put together the articles of incorporation for in a week and announced it like the day after the team was officially leaving. Wow. And so since then, we've hired the guys that used to work in the hockey development department for the Coyotes. We've hired them all over to us. When the Coyotes officially shut their doors, meaning when, the land situation in North Scottsdale they were eyeing fell through and they decided, okay, we're totally done. Because we were set up, we ended up getting not only a $1 million cash grant from them on their way out, but we also got like $1 million of stuff. And if you go to our offices, it is like floor to ceiling boxes of gear, sticks, swag, signed jerseys, pucks, pictures.
We need the address.
Yeah.
So much stuff. And so now
kids will be playing hockey.
Oh yeah, and we've got more gear.
Yeah.
You can. And so
really?
now, yes. So now what we're doing is we're running programs. So back to Shott's Tots, we've rebranded what was previously Little Howlers, which was the Learn to Play program. The NHL has actually worked with us to help support and provide gear so we can keep it going. But we have rebranded it Shott's Tots, which is something Matt always wanted to name a program, but obviously would never do it himself. He's the one actually, because I run the all girls continue to play program called Small Fries. Matt was actually the one who named that. So now that we get to name Shott's Tots after him. So yeah, we started up, ran the first programs up and running up in Flagstaff. All the AZ Ice rinks have got theirs scheduled. We've got the ice dens coming up. So Tucson is going to be running one. It's awesome. So yeah, we're going to keep Learn to Play going, and that's the ultimate driver of getting new kids into the game.
Any other professional sports or any other organizations stepping up to affiliate since that vacuum of the Coyotes?
The NHL, USA Hockey, they've been extremely supportive. When we're down in Tucson, we'll definitely have some touch points with the Roadrunners. Greg Powers is a good friend of mine, so we'll have touch points with ASU. We're actually really working quite collaboratively with AHA, which is our USA Hockey governing body here.
These are that's what I'm asking, because the hockey community is still here. The Coyotes left, but the structure and everybody is still here.
Yeah, and now it's just about something I really wanted to do, because it's hard, right? When you've got a group of people that all come together for things like the state board, where everybody's got their own interests. We wanted to really try to come in and be like that independent, neutral entity and show that we are here to help everyone, no differently than we did before when everything was under the Coyotes. And so, it's been funny kind of hearing some people, they're like, well, we got to get in the schools. And we're like, guys, we got it. This is what we've been doing the last 10 years, so it's amazing. I think how much people didn't really understand how involved the Coyotes were in the youth hockey space and developing. And so for us, in many ways, it's business as usual. Our guys are continuing to pick up the programs that they ran under the Coyotes, and they are getting them going.
Because you got enough funding to kind of keep it rolling
for
a while.
So that definitely helps. But the ultimate goal is to get it endowed to where, regardless of whether or not we've got donations or we've got an NHL team back here someday, we want to be able to get 10 to 12 million in the bank so that we can endow this thing so that these programs can run forever. That's the ultimate goal. So fundraising is still absolutely a huge part of what we're trying to do. We've got a great board, a great group of people working on that, just with that business development. And as far as, getting involved, which obviously we want as many people as possible, we've created a lot of different avenues to do that. So the first thing that we launched was the pledge. And you don't need $1 to take the pledge. You can go on today and take the pledge, and all it is azhockeylegacy.org. All you have to do is go on and say, you fill out some information, and it's just, I pledge to do my part in keeping Arizona hockey alive. That could be registering for the next men's league. That could be registering your kid for a learn to play. That could be like, it could be anything. It could be going and supporting the local high school team
just
at the
roping
rink.
the hockey people.
Do you love that she's driving the bus?
Oh, absolutely.
It's the best.
The bus is going to get there because she's driving the bus. If you can't tell that.
And you get a magnet if you get a car magnet with that really great picture of him waving when he dropped the puck. Hockey Fights Cancer Night. Get a silhouette magnet of that, and it's just, for me, I was there with him, like literally the moment he took his last breath with his mom, his brother, and for us to be able to give this back to him, the one thing that he asked of me and those that were close to him is just, I don't want my legacy to be that I died from cancer. I want my legacy to be this. I want it to be what I built and what I poured my heart and soul into for 10 years. And so we're making sure that happens.
He'd be more than proud. He'd be honestly more than proud. I go back with Matt too. I just think Matt was such a passionate hockey. I mean, you described it perfectly, helping anybody. I mean, I can remember literally at one time he was like so involved at DY. He was sleeping at the rink, in that coach's room in the back. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
He was sleeping back there. He was working like 24/7. The rink, he was the only guy that could do the Zamboni. He's the only guy could do certain things, and they just needed him. So he's been special for a lot of people for a long time, and it's just amazing that you can keep that legacy and the names and all the cool stuff that go along with it. I think that's what makes it such a great story. Yeah. It really does.
Last question. Your life's getting ready to change pretty significantly very soon.
Yes.
As you get ready to welcome your first child into the fold. What will you tell that little baby about Matt Shott one day?
Oh, boy. I'm going to go a little bit of a different direction here.
I love it. So
before he got like super, super sick and ended up in hospice and all the things, he had, this was when Shane Doan was still working with the Coyotes, and Shane had this, he had this whiteboard in his office, and while Shane was gone at the World Championships, Matt had gone in there and written anything is possible if you have the right people or like supporting you or something like that. And it had, -94, which was Matt's number. And when he passed away, I took a picture of that and cleaned it up, and I printed it on these nice big canvases, and I gave one to Shane. I gave one to all the people in the hockey development department, and I kept one. And it's been kind of just sitting in storage, and I've told my wife, like, that is going to go up in our baby's room because that's what I want them to know about their Uncle Matt. So that's...
I love it. No tears from that story.
No, well, it's just I'm actually kind of thinking of it on the wall, like how
it's an incredible saying.
Yeah, you put it's the memorabilia.
Yeah. Well, it's that whole thing, put your mind to it and you can do it. And
then I'll tell all the stories of, all the things we bickered about.
Leave some of them out. That dude was crazy from time to time in the best way possible, right?
Funny.
He's a funny guy,
dude.
man.
Yes.
A funny guy. Well, Lyndsey, thank you so much for coming on this little podcast of ours.
Yeah.
And good luck with the shots and the Tott shots. The
Shots Tots.
Shots Tots.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. It's kind of cute. It's a great little name.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, thank you for being here. It's great to see you again
You too.
after all these years. And congratulations on everything.
Thank you.
Everything I've heard today.
Yeah.
So
It's
all great news.
You know what we didn't talk about, and that's fine, but tonight is the night we're recording this is the Utah Hockey Club's first game.
Did not know
Sure
that.
is.
Yeah, tonight. They play tonight. Any emotions surrounding that?
It's a weird day.
Oh,
it's a really weird day. Like, I didn't know how I would feel during the last broadcast when it was the last Coyotes game back in April. And I got way more emotional than I thought because you think back to, wow, like my life trajectory could have taken a very different turn if not for this team being here. And so now that over the summer you can kind of ignore it. And now all of a sudden it's like, man, seeing Clayton Keller at a school in Utah is a
Right.
weird feeling.
On social media,
that could be
Utah,
weird.
We got to have her back too, and also too to get updates on this. But how do we let that happen? That could be a whole nother show. How do we lose? How do you lose an NHL team?
Let's wait a little while because I want to
do
get
that?
Shane on that episode.
Yeah.
Phoenix, how do
that might not be for a few years.
In a
but
city like
I know,
this,
I
Lyndsey,
know.
how do we lose a team?
So you know what? Here's the
holy
better.
moly.
You know what I will come back for? Let's talk more about how we get another one back. That'll be a
Awesome.
much more
And-
constructive
and
conversation.
An update on the Shott Tots.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And see how that's going. Yeah,
Absolutely.
always. We
do
want
it.
to stay close to the hockey community because we're part of it. So
We are.
we're in that. I'm in that bubble at least.
I'm in the bubble too.
Yeah. So I want to hear everybody doing well. So it's great to hear that.
All right.
Thanks, Lyndsey.
Lyndsey, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're going to hug it out in just a minute. Thank you so much to Craft 64 for
Yes.
holding us down today.
James,
it's a great
Craft-
venue.
Craft 64, and we want to mention our other venue sponsors in Chandler. Take the time off 87, Divine Gourmet, who's opening up the boutique on Boston here very soon in downtown Chandler. And we have a show coming up in Gilbert, October 17th at Brooklyn V's, who also one of our sponsors, has Chandler locations as well. So, and Darwin Wall, who was in the house today, thank you. He was watching the podcast. Another one of our Darwin Wall real estate team, one of our sponsors of the show, and we thank him as well.
Amen, brother. We'll see
Thank
everybody next time on our Move the Needle podcast.